Hello, so I've recently redone the electrical system in the van. It's not quite finished yet. I've got a few loose wires I need to tidy up. But what I'm doing today is linking the camera system to the indicators. So what I've done, I've had a look through the wiring diagram, which I've found in the Haynes manual. And I've found that if I take a feed from the indicator stalks up at the front of the van, I'll get a 12-volt signal when I put it on the left or on the right. I'll show you the setup I've got. This is where our camera controller is. It's powered from here, goes through a little rectifier to get a stable 12 volts. And then I've got a bank of 4 relays down here. So the output of those goes into the camera controller, and then the input, the coil, comes to these wires here. I've got all these spare wires, so I'll use a couple of those, and the other end of this wire goes through the floor there, through the van, and then it comes out at the front. So I'll show you that now. That was easy. Here is our indicators wires. I'm going to unplug these and see where we go from here. This dash has changed quite a bit. I've taken the steering wheel off and I've taken the switches off just to make life a little bit easier. This is the other end of the wire that I showed you going to the back. As you can see, it's a big multi-core. We've got plenty to play with. You'll notice it's now daylight because it's the next day. We had a storm last night. It was pretty horrible, so I just stopped what I was doing. So I've been looking through the wiring diagrams, and this is the indicator stalk which we have here. It has the indicator switches and the hazard switch built in to the same stalk. Now that has presented a problem because when I press the hazard button, that's essentially going to turn on the left and the right relays in the back. And what that will mean is that the screen constantly switches between the left and the right cameras. Now that's not something I want. I've spent a bit of time working out how I can have it so that when I actually press the hazard switch, it disables the automatic relays in the back. So I've made myself a little map here. You can see that my thought process that I've gone through, a few different ideas. Essentially what I'm going to do is I've worked out how to get a pin on here that will have a permanent positive when the hazard button is pressed. I've also got an ignition live, and I've got a permanent live, then I've got an output to my flasher relay. So essentially what this circuit is going to do, the relay is going to give the flasher a ignition live, which means if the key is out, the flasher isn't going to work. But when the key is in, the flasher will work and everything's happy. If the hazard switch is pressed, then this switch is going to flick down to permanent live, and it's going to give the flasher relay power. And then if we look on the rest of the circuit diagram, the hazard switch is actually a 4-position switch. It's then going to make a circuit between the common, the left indicators and the right indicators, and then we should have the hazards flashing. I've got some relays here, a couple of these. I've only got 2 of these see-through ones left, and then I've got 1 normal black one. So I'm going to use 1 relay for the left signal, 1 relay for the right signal, and 1 relay for the hazards. So this is the hazard positive. So I need to cut this, and from the switch I need to connect to the relay coil. Transit and classic enthusiasts, I'm very sorry. This is a 30-year-old van. It will all be reversible, so if anyone else ever has this van and they take out this wiring loom, even if they just chop all the cables and pull that wire out, the van will still work like normal. I have actually ordered some of the crimps that go inside these holders, which means these wires I can put a crimp on and put directly into the holder. Sadly, they haven't arrived yet, so for now I'm just going to splice them together. I know it's horrible having a crimp so close to a connector. It isn't going to be permanent, don't worry. It's always really helpful to have a map when you're doing jobs like this, or any job. It just makes life a lot easier if you're like me. So I'm just going to tick that one, and I've also done that one, the ones relating to 49. So I'm now going to splice into 30 red and connect it to normally open. Before I do anything else, I just need to fix this cable into place a little bit better. I'm just going to cable tie it to the chassis back here. 2 cable ties, that should be enough for now. I'm going to put a 3rd one in because good things come in 3s. And now, the best tool in the world ever, it's called a cable tie gun. Not only does it cut cable ties, but it also tightens them up so they're nice and tight, and it cuts them flush, so you'll never hurt your hands again. So the next cable that I'm working on is, where's it gone? So this red and black one here, from the cable, I just need to splice that onto one of these cores. I think I'm going to choose one of the orange ones. That's all the connections. I've got my relay here. This orange one here, that's going to go to the back of the van for the switch live. The reason I've got so much slack is so that I can put a fuse box up here somewhere. I've ordered some miniature fuses which are going to go just behind here somewhere. These are the things here, so I've got a couple of those. So if there's ever some kind of problem with the cable between here and the back, if it short circuits or anything like that, the fuse will pop and the cable won't cause any kind of overheating problems or fire problems or anything like that. I'm now ready to just do a little test. So I'm now going to hook up the indicator stalk and let's see what happens. So currently our key is off. One wire that I forgot to do, the ground for the relay. Let's connect that up and then hopefully it works. Okay, so I've connected the negative in now and we've got our stalk here. So hopefully when I press this button, this relay will energise and we will get our hazards flashing. That's like that, and let's just check our hazards. Yep, the hazards are flashing, so we're all happy there. The next thing I need to check is hazards off, key out. The indicators do not work, so that's exactly what we want. Now if I put my key in the ignition, so the first thing I want to check is that the hazards still work. So again, there we've got that relay and the hazards flashing, but now we should also have the indicators working. So left, correct, and right. Okay, so that's everything working. So I've not actually gotten round to the left and right signals to the back yet, but we've got this hazard which is going to bypass anything and give us a signal when that hazard button is pressed. So that's really something that we need. I'm now on the actual indicator side of it. My original plan, I was just going to send the pulsed signal to the back. That would be fine and it would work. However, the relays in the back are actually quite noisy and it would annoy me hearing the click from the back and the front. So what I actually want is just a permanent, so when I press the switch down, it's on, and then when the switch goes back up, it's off. That'll also mean that in the future, when I do things like have side lights for illuminating when I'm off-road, I can have those automatic with the indicators if I choose to. So all I'm going to do, here's the indicator stalk here. You can see we've got a common in the middle, then we've got one wire for left and one wire for right. These two are the common, they go to the same pin, and then we've got a black and white and a black and green, which is for the left and right signals. So all I'm going to do is cut those, and on the switch side, that's going to power some relays. So the left is going to power this relay coil, the right is going to power this relay coil. What that'll mean is that when I put the switch down or up, it'll either switch these contacts or switch these ones. That will also then send a signal to the back, but in the front here, it's then going to switch the flasher signal to either the black and white or the black and green. So let's get that done and see where we're at. So you may notice that on these crimps, I'm doing them slightly differently. Now, because these wires are a little bit thin, what I'm actually doing is putting both sides in before crimping it, which means that rather than just having one wire on each side, they're going through, we're going to get a better connection and a much stronger crimp, which is going to reduce the chances of it actually falling out. Obviously, I'm going to do a tug test anyway, just to make sure. By pulling that, I can make sure it's very secure in there. And with that, I think I'm done. I've got it all wired up with the negatives in and everything. First things first, just check that the previous work we did still works. Ignition off. Oh dear. So that doesn't work. I know why. I think it's because these relays need to be connected. Okay, so let's hope that the hazards now work. Damn it. Oh dear. Let's see if at least the indicators work. No. Right, I know what I've done. It's because I've used a switch live somewhere. Let's just check it works with the key. Key on. Right, the hazards work at least. That's left. And that's right. Okay, I know where I've gone wrong. Now I just need to fix it. Luckily, it's quite a simple problem. The indicator switches now need power to turn the relays on to flick the switch. So essentially, they need to work in the exact same way that the flasher relay works. Instead of me taking my feed for the relays from here, which is the ignition live, I need to take it from the other side of the flasher relay that we've installed. So I'm going to do that now. Fingers crossed it works. I've made the correct connection now. Ignition off, indicators not working, that's what we want. Hazard button. You can see the hazard relays come on and both left and right indicator relays have come on. Hazard switch off, everything goes back off. And now ignition on, hazard still works. Left indicator works, right indicator works. So the purpose of all of this is that now in the back I've got a 12 volt positive signal for ignition on, accessory on, hazard switch, left indicator and right indicator. So that's going to do things such as the battery to battery charger turn on, CCTV cameras on the left and right display on the main screen. We're going to have things like automatic floodlights on the sides if I want them when I'm off road, etc, etc. So all of this was worth it. I just need to quickly tidy these cables up because they're a horrible mess at the moment and I don't like it. Here is the electrical panel that I made previously. These are the other ends of the 3 wires that we've been working on. So on this terminal block here I have connections for 4 relays down here. These 4 relays go into the CCTV box and select the inputs on there. All I have to do is strip these 3 wires. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to put some ferrules on the end. First one for the left is going to be green and white, and the right hand indicator is going to be black and white, and finally the hazards, which I'll use as relay 3. Okay, a little tug test there. They're all in fine. I need to connect the ground up. I'll do that in a bit. And that means now these will trigger with the front buzzing.